Well, viewers, now to start off with, the death of Neha, a 23-year-old student in Karnataka's Hubli, has sent shockwaves not just through the state, but in fact the entire country at this point. Neha was stabbed to death by her reported lover, Fayaz, for purportedly turning down his proposal. The chilling CCTV footage shows the accused Fayaz stabbing Neha multiple times before fleeing. Now, netas of all hues have started passing their own judgments on the crime, depending on which side of the political divide they stand. The focus is not so much on the campus horror and the larger issue of women's safety, but the communities of the victim and her attacker at this point. Even the victim's father, Niranjan Hiremat, said that the accused Fayaz was known to the family and that they had tried to dissuade him from pursuing Neha due to their different faiths. First, let's listen to what the father said.
शाम को 4:30 बजे जैसे ही कॉलेज छूटा है, कॉलेज के कैंपस में कोई अनजान आदमी आके उसको 7 बार स्टैबिंग किया। वो करके वो हम लोग इंक्वायरी किया तो वो स्पॉट पे ही उधर डेथ हो गया। हमने हॉस्पिटल लेके आए, उसके बाद केएमसी गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल लेके आए तो उन्होंने बोल दिया कि आज के उधर उनका सांस रुक गया करके। आरोपी आज जो मुजरिम था वो आज ऑलरेडी अरेस्ट हुआ है। वो उनका क्या था कि वो लड़की को मैं प्यार करना है और प्यार रिजेक्ट करने में उसका जो मन का जो भावना है ना उसको चेंज हो गया। चेंज होने से वजह से उसका माइंड उसको नहीं मिलने में वो मर्डर अटेम्प्ट।
Now, of course, the father is grieving. However, initial reports at this point in time suggest it's a shocking act by a jilted lover and probably not linked to faith. But of course, the investigation is going on. But let's listen in to what the father had to suggest.
ಮಗಳನ್ನು ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ದುಃಖ ಐತಿ. ಮತ್ತೊಬ್ಬರ ಬಡ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳು ಕೂಡ ಈ ಥರ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದಂತ ನನ್ನ ಬೇಡಿಕೆ. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ನಾವು ಅನೇಕ ಕಡೆ ದುಃಖವನ್ನು ನಾವು ಕೂಡ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಬೇರೆದವರು ಮಕ್ಕಳು ತೀರ್ಕೊಂಡಾಗ. ಈ ಲವ್ ಜಿಯಾದ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಏನಿದೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇದು ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ಲಿ ಭಾಳ ವಿಸ್ತಾರವಾಗಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ನನಗೂ ಅನ್ಸತ್ತೆ. ಒಬ್ಬಾಕೆ ಮಗಳು, ಒಬ್ಬನೇ ಮಗ, 2 ಕಣ್ಣಿದ್ದಂಗೆ ನನಗೆ 25 ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಒಂದು ದಿವಸ ಕಣ್ಣೀರು ಹಾಕಿಲ್ಲ. ಆ ರೀತಿ ನಾನು ಬಂದವನೇ. ಇವತ್ತು ನನ್ನ ಮನೆಗಿಂತ ದುಃಖ ಬಂದೈತೆ. ಏನು ಬೇಡ್ಲಕ್ಕೋ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ನಾನು ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ ಪಾಲಕರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ಎಲ್ಲ ತಾಯಂದ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ತಮ್ಮ ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನ ಕಲ್ಸಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವು ಕಳಿಸ್ರಿ ಅಂದರೆ ತಾವು ಕೂಡ ಕಾಲೇಜ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ತಮ್ಮ ಮಗಳು ಏನು ಮಾಡತ್ತಾಳ, ಅವ್ರ ಹಿಂದೆ ಯಾರು ಬಿದ್ದಾರೋ ಏನೋ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ತಾವು ಕೂಡ ಗಮನ ಹರಿಸ್ಬೇಕು.
Of appeasement at the expense of law and order.
It is totally failure of law and order, and the local police is incapable of handling such situations. They are under severe political pressure to snub all this kind of. Previously, we have seen so many things happening. Therefore, if people can shout pro-Pakistan slogans in Vidhan Sabha, they think that they can do anything anywhere in the Karnataka. Karnataka has become a heaven for all anti-social elements. It has become a heaven for all anti-social elements. That's how we could see that even the NIA has arrested the people from Karnataka regarding bomb blast. So it has become really a very, 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 very dicey situation on the ground, and people are feeling unsafe under this Congress.
Now, the Karnataka government on its part has firmly rejected all of these allegations. Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivakumar has also accused the BJP of trying to create fear and panic in the state.
I'm telling you, BJP is trying to threaten us, that they wanted to, telling all the leaders they wanted to put make a creation that there is no law and order. Karnataka is the best law and order. Law will take his hand. They are just trying to tell the voters that they are going to put in governor rule. That is what Mr. Ashok is trying confidentially, that they are going to place a governor rule, and they are just doing all this type of drama. Nothing is there. They can't do that. It is impossible. Law will take its own course for everyone.
ಯಾವುದು ಮರಣಗಳಾಗಿದ್ದಾವೆ ಅವು ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕ ಕಾರಣಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಆಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಕಾನೂನು ಸುವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ ಭಾಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ. ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾನೂನು ಸುವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಕಾಪಾಡ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ನಮ್ಮ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಕರ್ತವ್ಯ. ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ.
Well, the government's take here is pretty clear that they're saying that it's a personal issue and it's going to be dealt with like how a crime should be dealt with. Dr. Lakshmi Ashwin Gowda of the BJP joins us to discuss more about this, along with her George Kurian, political analyst, also Nirmal Kaur, former IPS officer, is also with us to try and decipher such crimes and what leads to it. Firstly, let me in fact take this across to Ms. Kaur. Nirmal Kaur ji, if you could give us more clarity when such incidents happen, you know, what will be the first focus of a police officer? Because you have versions coming in from politicians, you have versions coming in from the father, who of course, he said one thing yesterday, and of course, this is an emotional, time for them. So while the police, of course, investigate, what are the real aspects that they look into in such cases?
Definitely, I mean, it's a case of, you can see it that he was stalking her and she spurned him. And if it can happen to such an influential person's daughter, it can happen to anyone. That means the law and order is totally not so good. And in such a case, the first action should be to pick up the accused, of course, to arrest the accused, and also to see that such incidents are not repeated and there's no law and order violation. But it's a sad state that, where it can happen to such a, you look at that girl's face in the photos, she's so lovely and vivacious, and she's a perfectly, she's a good girl, and this failure, some school dropout, college dropout is stalking her, and I'm sure she could have been saved had the law and order machinery and had everyone been more careful and had taken care to protect her. She would have been living today. She died because of the carelessness of the system. She died also because we think that love jihad is only an imagination in the...
Okay,
it's a
Ms.
figment
Kaur,
of
when you say
imagination
carelessness of the system, when you have such incidents that happen, especially within a campus, what can, at the government level, at the policing level, what can be done really to ensure more safety of women in such instances?
I think when girls are being stalked or being harassed, or somebody is telling them, following them or sending them letters or in some way approaching them or sending feelers or messages, and the unwelcome messages, they should be immediately logged in. Police reports should be logged. Logs should be maintained, what happened when, and stalking itself should be
But
punished.
for that, there has to be a complaint as well, Mrs. Kaur. There has to be a complaint as well that needs to be made, isn't it?
Yes. Stalking is victims of stalking are much more vulnerable. They are really, stalking is much more, then it appears to be a very simple crime. Somebody is following you or sending you messages, but the kind of, fear it generates in the mind of the victim. And eventually most of the stalking victims end up dying, as in this case, this poor girl was. And this is, this is a total patriarchal mentality, which especially people from certain communities have, that, all the women are there as objects for them to enjoy and to take. How dare they say no? In Jharkhand, we had a case where a girl was burnt alive. She was sleeping next to a window and they sprinkled petrol and just put a match to it.
Well, absolutely. And I think safety of women should be, of top priority for any government. I'll also bring in the BJP before I have Mr. Kurian react to both of these statements that have been made. Dr. Lakshmi Ashwin Gowda, when you look at such an incident, of course, you have been on one hand, saying that it is a law and order issue. Yes, it is 100%. And all of us, of course, should look at it from that lens. But there is also another charge that's coming in from the government that the BJP is trying to polarize this matter.
It's not about polarizing the issue. The particular issue, the ghastly incident, is the direct result of the complete paralysis of the law and order administration with the advent of the Congress government. Ever since the Congress government came to power, it is always mired in the controversies. The Congress government has been doing appeasement politics. Now they're resorting to threatening politics, ransom politics, intimidating politics, vendetta politics. Now the crime rates, especially the women's safety issues, communal violences have been drastically increased ever since the Congress government has come to power. This is the ghastly face of their extra predilection to the Muslim appeasement policy. It is a direct result of their Muslim appeasement policy. It is the high time for the people of Karnataka to realize that whenever and wherever the Congress government is in power, people are not safe, especially women. See, these innocent women are becoming the victims of love jihad, are becoming the victims of communal violence.
Dr. Lakshmi Ashwin Gowda, this is a heinous crime. It has to be condemned. There has to be strict action that needs to be taken by the police. And like Ms. Kaur was pointing out, it is a failure somewhere of law and order. They need to take measures to ensure safety of women, especially within campuses. This is not what we expect. But you are raising all of these issues. But I don't understand, on one hand, you're talking about appeasement here. On the other, this is a crime against a woman. How are you really linking these two is what I'm trying to understand. Because, it is one thing to demand, protection of our women in the state, of the girls in the state, and ensure better policing. On the other, trying to just gain some political mileage out of it as well is not something that's absolutely right.
The Congress government has created a congenial atmosphere for these kind of ghastly incidents to occur, especially by a particular religion like this, Muslims. They've created a congenial atmosphere. They've gained extra energy to commit all these mistakes, to travel extra mile in committing the crimes. It's a kind of congenial atmosphere they've created for them. The crime rate have been increasing because of their policy paralysis in the law and order. It's everything put together. It's not just their policy paralysis. It is the political culture. It is the political ideology practiced by the Congress and its tall leaders, the so-called tall leaders. They always speak about the Muslim appeasement. They also went on to an extent to saying that, taking some amount of resources from the Dalits, they are ready.
Okay, again, this is you're going into the aspect of appeasement without trying to explain to me how you're bringing in that narrative. I'll go back to Ms. Kaur. Of course, in your years of policing experience, when you look at a crime like this, do you feel that aspects like appeasement really come into the scenario here, and especially at this point in time in the investigation?
I think maybe investigation is an individual case. Like this case has happened, accused has to be apprehended, and prosecution, crime has to be investigated, charge sheeted. Prosecution will take place. But I believe Dr. Lakshmi is correct in one way, that somehow we tend to look at the community aspect of this crime. Man to man, I know so many people from that community who are great individuals. Man to man, they are great people. But, as a community, the thinking is that women are somehow lesser beings. They are there for us to enjoy, and they are there for us to suppress. They are there for us to even take their life if they don't, fall in line. This is what happens. So I think that way appeasement policy does come in. When you look that the crime committed by a particular community isn't that higher crime, or doesn't deserve that kind of alertness, which a normal crime should. It's the lackadaisical approach in following up on the crime, which kind of reflects, I would say, which is what Lakshmi perhaps has in her mind when she talks of appeasement in such criminal cases.
Okay. Mr. Kurian, I think you have a lot to respond to. I'll give you time now to go ahead and respond to both of them.
Deepak, the incident that has come to the fore is really shocking and saddening. My deepest condolences to the family of Neha, and my sincere prayers for her eternal rest and peace of soul. I would like to bring to the and reiterate for the benefit of your audience that the Congress government, as far as the law and order is concerned in the state of Karnataka, it's up to the mark, and it's better than what the Bharatiya Janata Party government in the previous government during their regime. The Congress government doesn't want to, or neither is interested in politicizing the murder here, which is really shocking, and we don't want to give it a love jihad angle as well. The Congress government believes in giving law and order situation, and it respects the it wants to give peace and tranquility. It wants to keep peace and tranquility across the state. We all understand the elections are around the corner. It's the eve of the election. 26th of April, 7th of May, polling is set to happen in 2 phases in Karnataka. The Congress government has delivered on all the promises which had promised during the assembly elections. So the Congress government holds a big vote share as far as Karnataka is concerned. So this is what is actually disturbing the Bharatiya Janata Party. So they want to polarize the entire issue here. And it is really disturbing and unfortunate that the Bharatiya Janata Party is trying to use a murder in the scenario to politicize for vote share. So this is really alarming. I have heard DK Shivkumar or the
Well, but
Congress,
Mr.
Chief
Kurian,
Minister Siddaramaiah.
when we spoke to, when Ms. Kaur here also said, of course, these aspects do come into picture. The victim's father here is making allegations. So that is of course a congressman himself. So when you look at and also see a series of events that have happened, an incident in Mysore has come to the fore, an incident in Bengaluru came to the fore. When you look at all of this, do you feel that the BJP probably will get away by saying these things because there are instances repeatedly coming to the fore and probably a stern voice is not heard from the Congress party about how these crimes need to be dealt with?
Well, as far as the Congress government is concerned, I'm confident the Congress government will has taken the cognizance of this murder, and appropriate steps will be taken. I have heard the commissioner, Hubli Dharwad commissioner. She has spoken at length. She has said that this is a serious issue. It will be dealt with seriously, and they will get into the root cause of the issue, and the case will be. It will come out in the open. And as far as we know that the accused has been detained, he's under judicial custody. Things are progressing, and I'm sure that I understand that the father is a SDMC councillor. But having said that, we still respect everyone's privacy, and we don't want to just blow this out of proportion. We are serious about law and order in the state.
Well, nobody here is for politicizing a crime. That shouldn't be done. Of course, a crime should be looked at from the lens of a crime, and of course, protection of women should be utmost priority for any government. But the question here is there have been multiple murders reported in the last 24 hours alone in different parts of the state. So, is there a fear of the law? Is the government and of course the police working under the government doing enough to ensure that when they get hold of the accused, the sections that are booked against them and how they deal with the crime, it serves as a deterrent, and overall enforcing law is important to ensure that it serves as a deterrent to society at a large. But we are looking at a series of crimes now which has been picked up, and time and again the BJP makes this charge that the Congress is failing to control the law and order in the state. What would you like to say about these growing crimes overall, and what is a plan really you feel that the government should employ here to ensure that crimes as a whole is not peaking like we are seeing right now in Karnataka?
Well, Deepak, as far as Karnataka is concerned, our Home Minister, Mr. Dr. Parmeshwara, is a capable person. He's a seasoned politician. We understand how it has to be dealt with, and we don't want Bharatiya Janata Party to bring in or get to law and order situation and try to disturb the peace and tranquility of the state, trying to polarize this entire issue for no reason. I disagree with Nirmal Kaur here saying that the carelessness of the system. I want her to put some light on what kind of a carelessness she's talking about. Did the family get to the police or made any complaint in this regard when they knew that there is this fear that this boy could harm the girl? They should have taken cognizance. In that case, you could have questioned the government that the administration or the police administration has not taken cognizance in this case. This is not the case in this scenario. It is after the murder has happened, everything is coming to the light. So do not question the Karnataka police missionary or the state law and order situation in this regard.
Okay, Dr. Lakshmi Ashwin Gowda, a very interesting statement came in from Mr. DK Shivkumar, the Deputy Chief Minister, saying that the perception, or rather the BJP is trying to build this perception that the law and order in Karnataka has gone for a toss, because he says everything is under control. Each and every crime that has been reported over the last few days, there have been brutal crimes. There have been some of them communal as well. Everything has been dealt with an iron hand is what the Home Minister and the top Congress leaders say. And they're also accusing you of trying to polarize on one hand, on the other, trying to just bring in a perception. And he even made a very interesting statement. They are saying that the BJP is trying to push for a governor's rule, alleging that there is, collapse of law and order.
It's a complete collapse of the law and order administration in Karnataka state ever since Congress government came into power. Because if you see at the crime rates and the kind of crimes that are happening here, especially women's safety and the communal issues, they have been increasing, drastically increasing, and exponentially rising ever since Congress government came to power. And it is high time for them to realize the fact that It's high time for them to done away with the Muslim appeasement policy. It's high time for them to give utmost priority to women's safety. It's high time for them to realize to give a potential law and order administration in the state of Karnataka, because Karnataka people have given them complete mandate, but they've stayed as a government, they failed as a government in less than 6 months in securing internal security, in giving efficient law and order administration, and in giving women safety. It's high time for them to realize and to done away with the Muslim appeasement policy. It is not about the perception politics. It is about the reality. They have been practicing this ever since the Congress government political ideologies itself is the Muslim appeasement to secure their vote bank. They have been doing ever since Congress government is in existence in this country. Ever since post-independence, they have been doing this Muslim appeasement just to secure their vote bank. Because of that only, and at the same time, they've kept the same Muslim people in the perpetual poverty. They've never done anything about it. It is not about polarizing the issue. It is about the reality. Whenever the Congress government come to the power, this kind of crime rates will increase.
Okay, you're saying now you're only picking up the crimes committed by one particular community. Is that how you're looking at this? Because I have been talking about multiple crimes, which of course does not really limit itself to one particular community or religion. Because are we talking about law and order here, or are we talking about just one particular community? Because that's how the BJP is really looking at it, and that's where I'm really saying that is this the way to politicize the matter? Talking about, yes, improving law and order in the state is important. Talking about protecting women is important. But then when you bring in a community here, that changes the narrative completely.
See, here the victims belongs to a particular community. Most of the times it is Hindu. Perpetrators are the Muslim. How will you look at as? We have to look with the lens of the communalism only, right? It is propagated, it is thrived, and it is driven by the Muslim appeasement policy only, right? It's not because that
Ms. Kaur, when you look at all right. Okay, you're saying that's the only lens to really look at this crime, and also bring back Ms. Kaur as well in this. Okay, Ms. Kaur, when you have a situation like this where there are crimes that are, continuing to happen in the state, how do you really ensure policing in an effective manner so that safety of the people, the women, are ensured?
I think prompt action, whenever a crime takes place, prompt action should take place without any favors or fear. Whoever has done it, regardless of the community, regardless of his whatever, that should be picked up. And, in cases like this, as in the present case, where a love jihad angle is there should be special laws to deal with it. And, where it's a class of crime. I'm not talking about individual murder of a girl or an individual jilted lover. If it is a class of crime by itself, then special laws should be made for that class of crime, which we sadly lack today. And but otherwise, crime has to be very strictly dealt with. Wherever it is, regardless of who commits it, whether it's my brother or my son or my daughter or my father or my community or your community, crime is a crime. Where does it say in the Constitution that anybody has more right over resources of the country? Their Prime Minister went on the floor of the House and said, Muslims have the first right over the resources of the country. Why? We are all equals. We are all equal citizens. Everybody has an equal right. Maybe there are some deprived sectors, but those deprived sectors cannot be community-wise. They have to be, as a class, they have to be taken out. I have also seen that when a particular government is in power, the crime somehow doesn't meet the stringent kind of, action that should be taken when a heinous crime like this happens. That I've seen in my experience, because the government has lackadaisical approach. Either they'll manage the prosecution or the police or the judiciary somehow and get a bail immediately. And another thing I see in such crimes, the whole community chips in and helps with the police case and helps with getting a bail from the judiciary, whether it's financially or moral support or whatever it is. That kind of community aspect of the crime, that is what worries me. Crime is a crime. Crime will happen in all societies and should be immediately followed up by the police and the whole criminal justice system. But it is true that our criminal justice system is the first one that should be put on trial today. We are putting people on trial instead of putting our own criminal justice system on trial, first of all. This is the way our criminal justice system is operating, which is not really good for the law and order of the country.
Right, of course, let's hope that, whatever flaws are there and if they do exist, that they are fixed at the earliest, because safety of women, safety of the citizens, of course, is of utmost importance, and let's hope that the government takes each and every case as seriously as possible. I'm thanking all our panelists, of course, for joining us today on this broadcast.